People nowadays are more visually inclined than ever because they use more visuals, but they don't necessarily understand the way visuals work better than they used to. On the other hand, if you see some websites and some influencers, they understand it very well and they just like to misuse it. Quick visualizations that seem to show something, and if you look more closely, it's maybe not the case. So an important part of this is being self-critical. If you understand what happens in a visual, you can also be critical about what it tells you. So I'm Barend Köbben and I'm a cartographer, a map maker. I visualize data in the form of maps, storytelling through visuals.
Number of homeless people from 2015 up to right now. It really has made a jump from 2022 to 2023.
And it has actually tripled since 2015. It's crazy.
It's quite increasing. Yeah. It's incredible.
But if you look at this one, then...
Yeah.
Yeah, now it looks different.
It says the same, but you don't see it. You think it's huge. The difference is, wow, enormous. But it's hardly 30 people.
This is exactly showing what I was thinking. It's exactly the same data, it's shown in a different way. Your perception is you see the differences between these bars, and the difference is big. Only at second glance, or not at all, most people, you are going to read the actual numbers on the axis. And you are going to find out or not that the axis doesn't start at zero in the one that seems extreme.
I haven't even paid attention that it was 250. Okay, actually, it's not a big difference when you look at it this way.
It's used a lot of times in newspapers and on the TV because they want to highlight the difference, and so you only show the difference. It's partly laziness and we have to quickly make something and oh wait, you don't see the difference very well, let's cut off a part of the graph so it shows that easier. But for a part I'm sure it will be done on purpose because that's journalism, that's you want to tell a story, and the bigger you tell it, the more important it seems that the thing you're telling. Although you show the data without any falsification, you sort of bring the wrong message across. And that's because the people only look at their immediate impression or perception of this difference in bars. And that's just the way we are built biologically. We are built to quickly see and interpret things, because that's a survival trait, of course.
I would say B, but I feel like the answer is wrong.
There were twice as many people in B than in A.
I think in A.
Yeah, that's the famous other thing that you always have to think about. To make maps, you also need to know what it's about. And so if you would have shown this to a Canadian, and he would immediately think, oh, wait a moment, you can't really answer this question properly. Because they know that if you map, in this case it's population density per province in Canada, that's totally irrational, because the difference between the north and the south of a province in Canada is the difference between cities and endless tundra with nobody. But these people apparently don't know about Canada enough to realize that everybody in Canada lives on the southern border. So it is important in any data visualization that you not only realize what you see, really literally see, but also what you see, what it is that I'm looking at. So in this case, we are now looking at another different example here of a European map. Now Europeans will have a better opinion because they know a little bit more about Europe.
Germany, Sweden.
Yeah, more or less the same. It's difficult to see. Sweden looks a little bit less than Germany.
I mean, Germany has more than Sweden, but I feel like it's tricky.
in 2010, Sweden was more open to people who are seeking asylum, and that Germany was a bit more closed. I see that a lot of countries like France and the Netherlands are also a bit more closed, and that Norway and Sweden are a bit more open.
So yeah, this is the classic difference between relative numbers and absolute numbers, and it so much influences what story you tell.
Oh, and this is in absolute numbers.
Yeah.
These are okay. I understand. Yes.
In this particular case, the story of asylum requests, it's more or less the same for Sweden and Germany in that time. And therefore, if you look at it relatively per inhabitants, Sweden had much more requests. And the funny thing is that you see here also that people cannot unknown what I know. This person is saying, well, it's because the Swedish is more open to asylums, which also has nothing to do with this particular data, because it's just the amount of requests, not people being actually let in. People have a whole baggage already in their head of knowledge, and it's very difficult sometimes to know how they will interpret your map or your visualization, because you don't know what they already think.
I think the colors are also a bit misleading because they are very close to each other. If you don't look clearly, then you would think that's the same. So if they've chosen colors such as blue and red, then that would make it clearer.
It's from going the same color from light to dark. And that is the way that you should express the same phenomena that becomes less or more. You shouldn't change the color really, because then people start thinking it's a different thing. What people often use if they use any something like Excel or so, they automatically get these rainbow ranges. But what you then get is that some of the values are in red and others are in green, and people also have other ideas with it. They think, oh, the red is bad. And it is not necessarily so. It's more or less. That doesn't mean bad or good. So you have to avoid that officially. But what you then get, of course, is that people say, well, it's almost the same color. I can't see the difference. So making these color ranges is a whole game in itself.
I don't know what the lines are supposed to mean. There's no legends.
The white line seems to be a walking path.
And I'm a city guy. Basically, all the white things are city.
Here you have green fields, and here you have trees, and here also you have trees, and here there is sand or rock. I guess, as far as I can read the card. Can you?
You didn't put your glasses on. The road is stopped there. I would say this one, when it is dotted, it's not accessible by car anymore.
Yeah. And then you see you can go walking, or with a donkey.
With a donkey, yeah. Why not? You always have your donkey with you, of course, right? Without even a legend, although online, of course, these things have legends, people assume all kinds of things. And luckily for the cartographers, particularly good cartographers apparently, because they say, oh, this is a dotted line, so probably you can't drive there. So there are some conventions, and then, of course, as a designer, you are bound by these conventions, because you can't make the lake green suddenly, because people would be utterly confused. So then you are also bound by those expectations. The first tip is always be serious, because you are making something that people are going to use, and they can be utterly mistaken in what they think if you don't do it right. Don't just use Excel and use the defaults, but think a little bit. But secondly, there's grammar in your language, but there's also grammar in visuals. The rules are what we call the graphic grammar. And if you just use the base rules, then at least you can't make the big mistakes. But the most important thing is always think about what story do you want to tell, and does this visualization tell that story, or does it mislead people in thinking something else? And that's just trying things out, showing them to others, your friends and your family. Do they understand what you hope that they understand? Then you've made a good visualization.